G'day! This video here is more of a prediction of what's going to happen when Type-C is finally introduced to the newest generation of iPhones and then subsequent current generation of iPhones when this video is down the line. What I'm predicting here is essentially Apple being Apple. Ever since they've had the lightning cables, even the 30-pin connector, they've had the MFI, made for iPhone certification. Basically, the companies are buying a certain chip which goes into the cable, which helps with the stability of the charging, or at least that is a bit of a simplification for that. Granted, there are other cables out there that still function just fine, but there is a chance that they may damage your phone, especially the cheaper quality ones and whatnot. So since Apple has been doing that for so many years now, with so many varieties of iPhones, considering we're soon to be up to iPhone 15, currently we're at iPhone 14, then that's going to be a large share of their revenue that will swiftly disappear once they introduce the open standard of Type-C charging cables. But Apple being Apple, they're going to want to hold on to that revenue. So what are they going to do? Here is what I'm going to predict they're going to do. One, they'll either restrict the data transfer speed from those cables to a PC, or potentially from iPhone to iPhone. What I'm imagining is, with that, they'll have a restricted to USB 2 transfer speeds going from phone to PC. And what I'm expecting as well is a restriction on the wattage of the charging using a non-MFI Type-C cable. So with that, I'm expecting a 5 to 10 watt charge or 2 amp charge, 2 amp at 5 volt on the Type-C cables, even though that the cables themselves may be Thunderbolt cables that can handle up to 65 watts, potentially higher. Because they're not MFI, they're going to restrict that speed. The iPhone's going to detect that it doesn't have that certification, and then it's going to restrict that data and power speed. Another thing that I would imagine as well that they potentially will introduce with the MFI cables is phone-to-phone charging. What I could imagine, if you're using a MFI cable, you'd be able to use one of their cables, plug the Type-C into one iPhone, Type-C into the other iPhone, and I'm almost predicting you'd be able to choose which phone is charging, which phone will be sending power, which phone will be receiving power. That one would be a little bit more trickier to implement, but I can imagine that would be something that Apple would do just to give another option for their customers to use with their devices. Anyway, I'd imagine that most of these cables would be a similar markup to what we already see compared to the lightning cables that are out there. You go buy a $2, $5 lightning cable, but typically this is referring to Australian dollars. Typically what I see as well is the MFI cables usually start at about 15 to 20 Australian dollars, and you never really see them below that. Granted, you might have some knockoff cables that say they are MFI when they aren't. There's quite a few blatant false advertisements out there on the internet, but you can certainly imagine that even though Apple is finally getting Type-C on their mainstream iPhones, they do currently have it on some of their iPads at the moment, but once they adapt it to the phones, I can definitely see they're going to put their own spin on such an open variety of cable. Might be prosumer, might be pro-Apple, more than likely pro-Apple. We'll see in the future. Anyway, these are my predictions on Type-C on iPhones. Bye.